will be treated like any number before he can try to win his 4th straight Australian Open and 10th overall and record 21st Grand Slam singles title. One day after Djokovic said he has a medical exemption to not be vaccinated against COVID-19 to meet requirements to play the Aussie Open, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said, "Show us your cards."
If he's not vaccinated, he must provide acceptable proof that he cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons.
And if he were unable to do so?
And he'll be on the next plane home. There should be no special rules for Novak Djokovic at all. None whatsoever.
Jared Max, Fox News.
Tonight in the NBA, Kyrie Irving will make his season debut. The Brooklyn star who refused to get a COVID vaccine will join the Nets in Indiana. Irving can only play road games. His unvaccinated status makes him ineligible to play at home because of New York City COVID regulations. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
1 minute.
WPTV First Alert Weather on WSTU is brought to you by Code Red Roofers. Code Red Roofers cares and calls you back. Shows up and finishes on time. 287-2829. Code Red Roofers, the roofers who respond. Now here's the First Alert meteorologist.
Your WPTV First Alert forecast this afternoon. Highs in the upper 70s, a mix of sun and clouds, showers and some spotty downpours possible as a stalled front moves across the area. Tomorrow and Friday, highs in the upper 70s, slightly drier with more sunshine. As high pressure settles in for a couple of days, just a slim chance for an isolated shower. Over the weekend, another front moves in and stalls out over the area, bringing in a few showers. Highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. Next cold front moves in by Tuesday, cooler weather by next Wednesday. I'm WPTV First Alert meteorologist Katya Hall for WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Well, Happy New Year, and so glad to be back in the studio, and I hope everybody had wonderful holidays. So some of us in the studio are going, could have been better. But we're going to have wonderful shows lined up this year, and today we're going to kick off the new year with our wonderful CEO of Martin County Economic Council, Ted Astolfi. Ted, how are you doing?
I'm doing much better now. I didn't have a lot of fun between Christmas and New Year's, but
this Omicron, whatever they're calling it, has been a little bit too sharing here this holiday season. So,
but not too bad.
But we're glad you're in the studio today.
I'm glad to be here,
and we're anxious to hear some updates. But before we do, I've certainly got to thank my sponsors. And again, I hope everybody had wonderful holidays. I take all of December off. I kind of just fall off the grid a little bit. So it's a little bit fun for a month and enjoy the family and the holidays. And went out skiing in Colorado, which was a lot of fun. And stayed healthy out there. So we're lucky about that. So. But I want to encourage everybody to check out Indiantown Marina. That's just one of the best marinas in Martin County. I think it's one of the safest because it's the hurricane hold. It's inland, and you can store your boats out there. And we don't have to worry about hurricanes right now, but of course during the summer you do. But boy, Indiantown Marina does so much more than that. They are one of the best boat storage facilities around, and they also have a do-it-yourself and full-service boat yard. So you can hire somebody, you can work on your own boat, electrical, mechanical, prop and shaft work, bottom painting, boat sitting, and so much more. So if you want to give them a call for storage or service, give them a jingle at 772-631-3272. That's 772-631-3272. And also, do you know about the best kept secret in Martin County? That is the Fish House Art Center over in Port Salerno. That is such a fun little area to go and visit. And the Fish House Art Center has it's more than art. They offer so much. They have boat charters, they have a marina, Airbnb, great place to stay, especially for your guests coming from out of town and up north and whatnot. Craft beers, wine, ice cream, something for the whole family. Bike rentals and paddleboard rentals. So there's just so much happening out there. And again, that's the Fish House Art Center. It's in Port Salerno. They're right on the water. Check them out at thefishhouseartcenter.com. 772-221-5482. That's 772-221-5482 if you want to give them a call to see what's going on out at the Fish House Art Center. And finally, forbearances, working remotely, internet shopping, retail space, and rental income have been hit hard by COVID. If you're looking to restructure your debt, obtain financing or equity, Commercial Mortgage can help you out. Tim Mullen at Commercial Mortgage has been providing debt restructuring services since 2003. Tim never charges a front fee, and all consultations are free. Tim only gets paid if he provides you a debt workout. Looking for a debt solution or financing? Give Tim a call at 772-872-6099 or visit commercialmortgagellc.com to schedule your free consultation. All right, Ted. So got the sponsorships out and chit-chatted a little bit, and I'm really anxious. It's been a little while since I've had you in the studio, and Economic Council has been super busy and working on a lot of initiatives here in the county. Mm-hmm. So let's start out before we get into all those. Just tell us what's the state of the employment here in Martin County because of COVID and all that?
It's surprising. Martin County always sustains these negative times much better than other communities around us and around the state. It's funny, our competitors try to badmouth us and talk about our history of being very anti-business, but Martin County is very pro-business right now, and that's different than just pro-growth. It's not just about population growth, it's pro-business, right? And we, as a result, we go into recessions and bad times much later than most other communities. We come out faster. We don't go in as deep. And so as an example of that, right now, Martin County's unemployment rate is 3.1%.
Wow.
That's practically zero for all intents and purposes.
About as low as it gets.
Exactly. St. Lucie County, in contrast, is 4.1%, so a full percentage point higher. So we're really doing quite well. Economically. The problem is, as you know, in every industry sector, doesn't matter what industry you're in, is finding employees.
Right.
With unemployment that low, with people leaving the workforce for multiple reasons, kind of an accelerated retirement for a lot that decided they're done now with all the COVID.
Right.
And so rather than stay for another 2 or 3 years, they're out. Fewer people, just the demographics. There's fewer people coming up. The baby boomers are aging out. And then people are working remotely and doing different types of jobs. So it's making it very challenging, especially for the industries that demand people.
I was going to say the service industries seem to be hit the hardest.
They really are. Having the people out there on the front lines working face-to-face. Contrast that with the IT industry sector, which is absolutely booming, and they're searching out of state and all over the country to find employees right now. Because fortunately they can work remotely and they can relocate.
Right. Working remotely is huge right now, too. And I think that through this pandemic, a lot of companies realize they can work remotely. Their employees can, and they're just as productive. So
Absolutely.
I think that's
the productivity has not dropped off in all sectors.
Which is amazing.
It's amazing. And you learn what you can do, right?
You absolutely
you didn't know you could work remotely, but guess what? You can.
When you're forced to, all of a sudden,
There are ways.
Necessity is the evolution of change.
Absolutely.
So. Again, we're speaking with Ted Astolfi with the Martin County Economic Council. He's the CEO. If you have a question for Ted, you can call the studio at 220-WSTU. That's 772-220-9788. And I'm also watching the Facebook Live feed for questions or comments, and I'll share those as they come in as well. So, Ted, have you, this is contacting, what did I say? Please help us with employees. We can't find somebody else. Can you guys do something about this?
Well, so the Business Development Board is really the economic development agency that works with companies on business retention, expansion, bringing new companies in. The Economic Council really works more on the policy side. So one of my members years and years ago, decades ago, told me that the Economic Council kind of sets the table, and then the Business Development Board invites the people to dinner.
Perfect.
And so we work on the policies that get the playing field ready, get the table set so that they can be more successful. So we work at a very kind of a 40,000-foot level, I like to say, where we look as an organization at our community and trying to identify issues in the community that aren't being addressed that need to be addressed, and policies that we think both the city, the school board, the county should be implementing and following to make us a more well-rounded, quality, sustainable community.
And the Economic Council does watch all those various areas. It's not just about business. You mentioned the schools, you mentioned
Absolutely.
the county,
Yes.
and you also lobby up in Tallahassee, correct?
We educate. I'm not
Educate.
a lobbyist.
All right.
But
Wrong
we do
word,
go
but
try and
right,
educate.
right.
We
You'll
do
talk.
work to educate our legislative delegation and legislators throughout the state on issues important to us here in Martin County.
And briefly, so folks know, who are the members of the Economic Council?
So
What makes that
we don't
up?
publish our membership list. We're a private not-for-profit, but our members, by our bylaws, are required to be C-level executives or business owners within the community.
Perfect.
So it's the highest level executives we can find in our business community that can step away from their desks and really look at Martin County, not for their business purposes, but for a community purpose, and identify those issues we need to work on.
Well, and certainly their businesses make up the community, so it makes sense. And with your initiative that you're charged with, looking for things that the county needs to maybe improve on, or maybe it's lacking, what in the last year have you seen in those areas?
There's a lot of things that we've been working on. One of the things we were really promoting that the county commission get done was the fire stations. It was almost 4 years ago that they decided we were going to rebuild a couple of the fire stations and build some new fire stations, and we weren't seeing progress on that. Now all of them are underway. Some are nearing completion.
Yes.
And so we're very happy to see those types of things underway and nearing completion. We've always been very supportive of our community redevelopment areas and our CRAs. Excited to see what's happened in Palm City.
If anybody has not been down Map, please come down and drive down Map Road. You will be amazed at how much it's changing. It's beautiful, Ted.
It is beautiful, and I have to commend
there.
the people in the community for being so understanding. I think the county did a good job of communicating the expectations that the work was going to be done and when it was going to be done, and I think that helped a lot in the patience in the community. I thought people were extremely patient with what was going on there. It was a long process, I get it, but the result is well worth the wait.
It's amazing. It was a huge transformation, and
Absolutely.
it really brought that section of Palm City into this century. To be
It
honest
did.
with you.
It did, exactly. And Hope Sound's the same way.
Yes, yes.
And there's more coming in Hope Sound, and some more things in Palm City as well. So
Exciting.
We're excited to see it now move into Port Salerno and Rio and some other communities in the area that we can help see redevelop.
So these are some of the things that the Economic Council oversees and helps promote and hopefully, try to make things happen.
Absolutely. And education's an important one.
It truly. Well,
I think last
really
time I was
there.
on, we talked about the fact, because you were on the committee too, when we were searching for a new school superintendent,
Yes.
we had to search for a new college president. And then our college president took our campus president from Martin County up to Fort Pierce, so we had to get a new campus president.
Never ends.
And I've been involved in all three of those processes.
Right.
And I have to say that I'm very, very pleased, not because I was on it, but because of the results. And if you haven't met our new campus president, Alex Anzalone, he is an amazing guy. I would encourage you to have him on.
I was going to say, I think I should have him on the show.
He would be fascinating.
Wonderful.
I think you'd really enjoy hearing his perspective, his background, and where he sees us going with in River State College here in Martin County.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. I will. I definitely will reach
Yeah,
out to him
please.
through you. So it'd be an exciting show. And next week we're going to have Dr. Millay on,
great.
the superintendent of Martin
He's
County
another great
Schools.
one.
So he's always full of great updates, and
He is.
he's full of energy since he's been hired. He
They all
really
are.
has.
Yes.
So it's
and Tim Moore. So
yes,
yeah, they all are full of energy, which
They
is
are
great.
They are, and it's important. It's
It is.
important in the
It is.
positions that they hold. So talking about education, what are some things here locally that you saw maybe needed improved in Martin County that the Economic Council is addressing?
So you want to get into this?
I do want to get
Good,
into this.
because one of the issues we saw. So there's really great organizations within our community, right? We have the Business Development Board that does economic development. We have the Council of Chambers, which is all 5 chambers of commerce, which are really involved in developing our community. The Builders Association has a group, the Realtor Association, the Marine Industries Association. But one of the things that does not have an association, and yet is one of our real key, I guess I would call legacy industries in Martin County, is the aviation sector.
And I think people don't realize that. It's
I don't
something
think
we
they do.
overlook.
And I know you know it because you were part of our celebration after we got the customs facility
Yes,
open
yes.
4 or 5 years ago.
I know. It's
which
been
has
so
proven to be tremendously successful and self-sustaining with their fees. and
Yes.
has really put Martin County's airport, Martin County, on the map. We now have more than half the jets at Witham Field are permanently based at Witham Field for the
there's
first time
so much
ever.
air traffic now. It's not in a bad way. I don't
No,
mind it, but it's like you've noticed the business has increased.
Absolutely. And, I understand that in the early days people were concerned about the noise, but the jet engine technology has changed so much over time that if you didn't look up in the sky and see them, you wouldn't know they were here.
Right,
Because you
right.
just don't hear them anymore. The technology has gotten that good.
It is. It's so much better. And Tony Stevens, thank you. He says, welcome back. So good to see you as well, Tony. He's one of the founding members of Foghat. So always good to have Tony
Love
joining
Foghat.
in. And I know, Foghat. Yeah, I do too.
That's our era.
That's right. That's right. It is our era. But with the airplanes, yes,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful that we're having the increased business here, right here, and
It
Witham
is.
Field, Martin
But,
County.
one of the things we noticed was there's a huge demand for labor in that sector. And there's really no organized association to deal with that. And so I saw a Boeing report, the 2020 Boeing Pilot and Technician Outlook report, which is 750,000 new civilian aviation pilots are going to be required.
Wow.
Over 700,000 maintenance technicians and over 900,000 cabin crew members are going to be needed. And so you start to look at those numbers and say, how do we fill that gap in that industry sector, in a legacy industry of aviation here in Martin County? And so we tossed it around, we had a lot of discussions, and we decided we would make an effort to address the talent pipeline for aviation and aerospace.
Oh, that's exciting. And I want to bring up
Yeah.
as well, that's also a good paying field.
Oh, absolutely. Tremendously high paying field. And so huge growth opportunities, above average wage, high skill, high wage jobs, all the things we want for our youth in this community as they grow up and become successful. And so we really see that as an avenue for growth in our community and for job opportunities for our young people.
It's something that really the community has overlooked for so long because the marine industry is so large here, of
It
course,
is.
and it's in our face. There's water all over.
And
There's
you've got
boats
the
all over.
association, right?
That's
and
right.
So
There
when
is
you've
a-
got an association, you really support your industry sector, it goes a long way.
You have a
and,
voice.
And they do great things.
So this is exciting, this whole new industry. What are you doing to attract the talent and let
Yep.
kids know and high schoolers and whatnot?
So we look at the whole talent pipeline. So we identify kind of 4 segments of the pipe, if you will, 4 pieces of pipe, and they follow education. So the first one is the pre-K through elementary school education. And that's where you really kind of get kids' attention. If you talk to those young kids and ask them what they want to do, they say firefighter, policeman, nurse,
Right.
doctor, the things they see, right? But if they aren't exposed to aviation and aerospace, they'll never say that.
Right.
One of the things that we're missing in Martin County is the ability to stand at the airport and watch planes take off and land. There's no place you can watch planes
Sure.
take off and land. If you talk to people, so many of them say, oh, I remember when I was a kid, my parents took me to the airport, or we went out onto the runway.
You used to be able to do that.
And most places you can. And here there's no way to really excite young people about aviation and aerospace. So one of our members had seen a playground up in South Carolina. And I went up and I met with the person that created it and looked at it and said, we need to recreate this here. So, and what they call it's not just it's a playground, but it's aviation themed, and it's really an outdoor aviation education center. And when I went, I saw they had a big covered pavilion with about 20 picnic benches. And I said, why do you have this big pavilion with all these picnic benches? They said, the number of kids that I can put in those picnic benches equals the number of kids I can get on 2 school buses. And they literally take private school kids, public school kids, homeschool kids, and they bring them out and teach them about aviation. And it's right on the airport. They can watch the planes take off and land. They can taxi a plane up, and they can get on the plane and walk
How
around.
neat.
We currently take a kid up in an airplane. I forget what it's called exactly, but there's a day where kids can go up and fly for a day with a pilot
Oh,
for
my
about a
goodness.
half hour. They do it twice a year. They usually do it at fixed base operators, but they're so busy. Having this public access point to do those types of things will be really great.
It will.
And it will encourage kids to get into the aerospace aviation industry as a sector.
That's right.
And a way to go. And so it's not just an aviation themed playground; it's also an education center.
And that's at the airport.
It'll be at the airport. We're looking at a site on the airport directly across from the YMCA. So if you were to turn one direction to go to the YMCA, you would turn the other direction, go through the fence line, and go into this new playground and parking area, so you can park and watch the airplanes take off and land.
How exciting!
So we really want to grab those kids' attention at an early age.
Right.
But then the second piece, so that's an exciting piece, and
It's
we're working
very
with the
exciting.
county on that. It's going to be their property. But we've developed a fund, a charitable fund at the Community Foundation. It's the SUA Aviation Fund. SUA is the call letters for the Stewart Airport.
Okay.
And you can go to the Community Foundation, and you can look at that fund, click on there, and make a donation. We're raising money so that we can help ensure that what happens there is what we envision, which is this educational facility. There's educational panels all about aviation around it. There'll be on the ground are 2 runways that are asphalt runways that bisect the actual playground itself.
How neat.
And they're painted, they're to scale. They'll actually be on the same compass heading as our primary runway.
Okay.
And so it is all educational tools to teach young kids about aviation. One of the fascinating things I found, though, was when I went up to Greenville to see the one they have there and talk to this woman that started it. She started talking about how they teach the kids. And I think this is fascinating. You're in the marine industry, so you'll find this interesting, I think. So she said, well, one of the things we teach them is, we say, well, how on a boat, in the back, there's a big rudder that goes left and right to turn the boat left and right.
Right.
Well, the tail of a plane is the same thing. It has a rudder. And then she said, and like boats have green and red lights on the bow, so you know whether they're coming and going and port and starboard. Airplanes have the same thing, but they're red and white, and they're on the wingtips.
Okay.
And I thought that's really great education. I said,
It is.
But they're in Greenville, South Carolina. How many kids know about boats?
Right,
in Greenville, South Carolina.
Right.
That'd be very transferable here. I think a lot more kids know about boating
right.
and marine than aviation,
right.
perhaps. But it also educates them to both things.
Right.
So now they're getting a little bit of aviation
cross-training.
and a little bit of marine education. So I thought those are great techniques. And we're going to talk to retired educators about being our instructors.
Okay.
We think that's a great opportunity for the teachers that are retired. It's outdoors. They can come. They can still teach the young kids and talk about aviation, aerospace.
So how will that roll out, Ted?
So
is it a class they sign up for, extracurricular?
No. So one of the things we're talking to, and you can ask the superintendent. When
I
you talk to him
will.
next week. But I've talked to them about this, and so every student in the school district goes to the Environmental Learning Center for a day. Right now, those students go off to the beach and get to play and recreate a little bit after.
Right.
We would like them to come here after.
Okay.
That way, it's one bus trip.
Right.
Now, if we can, what would be even better is just like to have a scheduled bus trip to the Environmental Learning Center, you also have a bus trip scheduled to the Outdoor Aviation Education Center.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be independent, but if not, at least on that day they're out on a bus and going somewhere, they could stop here and get a little hour's education on aviation, aerospace, and see the planes.
Hopefully we will reach every student in the county then.
That's our goal. That's definitely our goal.
That's incredibly exciting, and I can just see little boys and girls. It's just going to open up a whole new world to them because we all watch the planes.
Exactly, and everybody loves to watch planes.
And there are a lot of pilots in Martin County. I seem to run into them all the time.
There
Neighbors
are.
And it's
civilian aviators, commercial aviators, the whole bit. Yeah, we have a lot of it.
So what's the next step beyond the young ones?
So the next piece of pipeline is moving into middle school. And thankfully, the Chambers of Commerce, led by Missy Campbell at the Palm City Chamber, have really picked up that next step. And in fact, this month, during January, there's a day at each of the middle schools that's a career exploration day. Explore your future.
Nice.
And it's kind of like a job fair, but it's really about to teach the kids of what the job opportunities are in our community. Mm-hmm. And it's all different types of jobs, but particularly we focused on aviation aerospace as the primary one to drive this. And so the companies that are involved in aviation aerospace will be in the middle schools talking to kids about careers in their sector. And so we're really grateful to have the Chambers pick up that piece of the pipeline.
Absolutely. This is great that the community comes together to work on this project.
Absolutely. Then the third piece, and this is another, we'll talk about John Millay again. The third piece is the high school piece.
Okay.
And when the superintendent came in, shortly thereafter, I took him on a tour, and we went to the airport. And what people don't understand is until you see the back side of the airport, until you get into the airport and onto the air side and look back, you don't see how much activity is really there. Mm-hmm. So we took the superintendent on a tour, and at the end he said to me, well, why don't we have a career and technical education program for aviation? And I looked at him and said, John, I don't know. But that would be great. So he went back with his team, And they identified an instructor at the Spectrum Academy that met the criteria to be an instructor for the aerospace CTE program.
Wonderful.
So in August of 2021, in the fall semester, a new CTE program, Career and Technical Education, started at Spectrum Academy for aviation and aerospace.
Isn't that
it was
wonderful?
That fast.
Amazing.
I mean, it was literally like 6 months after
And to
we
have
talked.
somebody that's already employed
We
at
were
the school
very
district.
very fortunate to have the staff person there. So that piece is done.
Okay.
The last piece, that fourth piece of the pipeline, is the post-secondary. Once you get out of high school, where do you go? What do you do?
Right.
And there are places like Emory-Riddle if you want to become an engineer, aeronautical engineer, but those are very high-level skill sets. There are other jobs and careers within Martin County, whether you're working in the flight line at the fixed base operator, or you're working at Triumph, or making aircraft parts, or Paradigm making engine parts, or whatever. There's all those other skill sets that need to be taught. And it's an opportunity to upskill a lot of people, too, into these new careers, because they are high-paying.
Right, right.
And so we had identified a building at Witham Field, and it's called Building 17. It's not a hangar. It's the old cafeteria building. If you've been around a long time, you might remember Chantal's Catering was there for a while. And during Francis and Jean, we used it as a hurricane recovery center, and we hosted President Bush there. So it's been many things, but for the last 6 or 7 years, it's been vacant.
Okay.
And really falling into disrepair. Right now, the firefighters are using it as a training facility. But we went to the county and said, you've got this asset that you own that's being really not utilized at all or underutilized, and we'd like to see it become a training center. And so Assistant County Administrator George Stokas said, that's a great idea. He's very supportive of aviation coming out of the airport. And he said, that's great. I love it. But who's going to run it and how are we going to pay for it? Which are good questions.
Those are good questions.
So one of the positives of COVID, I suppose, is that a lot of grant money became available.
Okay.
And so he was able to identify and apply for 2 different grants. We're hoping this quarter, we expect this quarter, to hear a result on at least one, if not both of those grant requests to rebuild the building.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
I think he's got $2.1 million scheduled that he's applied for to rehab the building into a training facility.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, it makes sense to use your current assets.
And it's on the airport, so why not do an aviation aerospace training center there? And then who was going to run it was the next question. And
Ted, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to take a short break and leave everybody on the hook for 1 second to find out who's going to run it. So we'll be right back.
Forbearances, working remotely, internet shopping, retail space, and rental income have been hit hard by COVID. If you're looking to restructure your debt, obtain financing or equity, Commercial Mortgage can help you out. Tim Mullen at Commercial Mortgage has been providing debt restructuring services since 2003. Tim never charges a front fee and all consultations are free. Tim only gets paid if he provides you a debt workout. Looking for a debt solution or financing? Give Tim a call at 772-872-6099 or visit commercialmortgagellc.com to schedule your free consultation.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You're listening to The Casey Ingram Show on WSTU Digital 1450. Call in with questions and comments at 220-9788. 220-WSTU. And now back to the show.
And we are back. I have Ted Astolfi. He's the CEO of Martin County Economic Council here in the studio. And we are talking about a lot of wonderful things that have been happening, especially with the aviation field. We really haven't thought a lot about aviation in Martin County. We're always talking about boating and fishing and of course, there's the retail and customer service industries, but like all the service industries, restaurants and shops and all that. But this is what our Economic Council does. They identified areas that may be overlooked for whatever reason. And this is a really large area. Before we went on break, thank you, Adam Locke. I appreciate that. He says, welcome back. It's good to be back. But before we went on break, we kind of left the listeners on the hanging about who is going to be running the Aviation Center out at Witham Field.
So we're getting grant money to build it. And the question then was, who's going to run it? And with our new college president, Tim Moore, being very entrepreneurial and looking for opportunities such as this, and our new campus president, Alex Anzalone. They're very excited and have agreed to take on this project and manage the facility. Now, it used to be called Building 17. All the buildings of the airport have numbers.
Okay.
We have renamed it. It's going to be called the Reach Center. REACH.
I know this stands for something.
It is. It's an acronym. Last legislative session, last year, the legislature passed a number of bills that they grouped into an act called the REACH Act. And REACH is an acronym, stands for Reimagining Education and Career Help.
Okay.
And the intent is to merge our higher education training facilities with our career source workforce systems so that they match up. If you're unemployed, you need to go to Career Source and file for your unemployment. You have to do job searches. You can get career help and resume building assistance, and they try and place you into jobs. But they don't do the skills training. Our state college and community college system really is the key organization to do the skill training. So getting them to work better together was really the goal here.
Okay.
So what we've decided to do is put a couple of staff people from Career Source along with one or two people from Indian River State College in this new REACH Center so that they can work collaboratively together under one roof in getting people into the system, trained for these career opportunities, and then placed on the other side when they get done with their training. And so we're calling it the REACH Center to follow with the state's REACH Act.
Right.
We're hoping that helps us with our legislative request for money to do some of the build out inside the building. There's also, the governor set up a office within the governor's office called the REACH Office, which has the oversight of these programs throughout the state. We're the first one that's actually implemented anything locally on the ground to develop a REACH Center.
Really?
Yes.
Right here in Martin County?
Right
That's
here in
exciting.
Martin County.
As you're speaking, Ted, I can't help but sit here and just be tremendously impressed with the thought that has went into this project and in trying to promote this industry. You really have put a lot of time and effort into thinking every tentacle. Honestly, I mean, you started with the little kids with the playground right up through colleges. Mm-hmm. Having a facility at the airport, looking at what's available, what can we utilize to make this happen. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces here.
There are, and I have to give credit. It's not me. It's the members and my board that are involved and really can sit. They really step back from their office, right?
Right.
And take the time to not look at what they're doing in the business, but look at the community and help with this.
Right.
And then reach out to experts within the field, talk to people in the industry sector, get their input and their feedback, so that we're offering the right program at the REACH Center, right? And a member who went up to Greenville and saw this playground and brought that idea back to us. It really takes the entire group and the members of the organization to make us successful. I'm not this smart.
Oh, give yourself credit. Give yourself credit. You're very smart. Ted, you talked a lot about the legacy aviation here in Martin County. For those of us that didn't grow up here, let's talk about that a little bit. What is the legacy?
So it's really quite fascinating. There's a lot of things that people probably aren't aware of. So we have what is now Triumph. And when you drive by Dixie Highway south of Monterey and you look over and you see the big building that says Triumph, but you don't know what goes on in there.
Right.
And you see those funny shaped box cars, right?
Right.
And what goes in those funny shaped box cars, they open up from the center, and what goes in there is the center section for the Boeing 767 aircraft. Wow. And it's the part where the fuselage is in the front and the back and the wings attach to that part. They call it the heart of the aircraft.
Okay.
And what's fabulous about our workforce here in Martin County and our community as a whole is that we have that facility here. They build that part from nothing. They put it on that rail car, and it goes by railroad from here to Everett, Washington to the Boeing plant. And only once it gets there can all the plane parts be attached to it to make the aircraft.
That's incredible.
The wing sections, the nose, the fuselage, and the rear, everything gets attached there.
Okay.
And so it really is the heart of the aircraft. Now, that's been an evolution. Originally, it was Grumman aircraft.
Okay.
So back in World War II, we had companies coming into West Palm to do jet engine, Pratt & Whitney jet engine research, because jets were new then. And they were very secretive out in the very western parts of Palm Beach County.
Right.
And that's still there. And then the Grumman was making aircraft.
Okay.
And that were being affixed with some of these new jets. So Grumman came, but they came to Stewart, to our airport here. And so that's our legacy, is Grumman coming to Stewart Witham Field. They built most of the hangars that you see out there, the old Quonset hut style hangars.
Right.
They built those here. But even before then, and this is another really interesting piece of our history, is many airports around the coast of Florida were built during the war for coastal security. They were built by the federal government. The federal government came in, they bought or leased land, and then built these airports. We already had an airport.
Wow.
Witham Field already existed. The Krugers went out and they plowed up some pineapple plantation and built some dirt runways. Hugh Willoughby was a very early pioneer in flight right here.
Isn't that something?
And so when war broke out, the government came in and they leased our airport from us during the war and then gave it back to us after. So ours is a county-owned airport.
Okay.
That was pre-war.
Pre-World War II.
That's how long we've been doing this. And there's a I've just lost his name. There's a military Air Force base up in Panama City that is named after one of our early aviators that used to make aircraft parts in Souls Point.
Really?
Yep. And
the name, it'll come to you.
It will.
At midnight tonight, it'll come into your mind.
But we have a connection to a military airport in Panama City that was named after a very early aviator in
right here
before World War II, right here in Stewart Field.
That's incredible. I had no idea the legacy here.
It's amazing.
So I think of Alice Lockhart and
yes, she's got stories about this. It's if you go back and look
Sandy
at her
Thurlow,
things,
yeah, they're the historians, and they would let you know that
but
name.
A very long legacy here in Martin County of aviation.
It is, and I'm so glad that you're bringing that back, and the Economic Council is focused on that. Eric Miller from Talk About Martin has a question for this Aviation Center. Where does the money come from? How is it being
So the county's applying for grants to rebuild the building, and then operationally, CareerSource is funded by federal and state dollars to help people get reemployed or employed or upskilled.
Okay.
And then in River State College, they get their funds through both grants, foundation money, as well as full-time enrollment.
Okay.
So there'd actually be courses there. But we're not talking about regular college degree course. We're talking about stackable certificates.
Okay.
So you'll be able to go in and get a certificate and then go to work or get an internship and have a job and as an intern and then take courses here at this facility.
So you already touched on this briefly already, but I want to go into it a little bit further for especially parents, students that are out there listening. What careers specifically can these kids move into after, maybe going through some of these certificates or...
I'm gonna look at my notes.
Yes.
I have some of that. So one of the things that, we've talked about over the years past, so things like Precision Jet.
Okay.
Precision Jet Services is a repair facility located at Witham Field. They're going through an expansion, and they do avionics. So they replace the avionics. They'll replace windshields on the aircraft.
Okay.
They'll redo wings. They do the interiors. There's all kinds of maintenance that has to be done on aircraft and aircraft engines on a regular basis for safety. And so if it's on an airplane, you're probably touching it at Precision Jet.
Okay, interesting.
The fixed base operators, right? So if you have an aircraft and you have it in a hangar, you're going through a fixed base operator. If you fly in, you stop in at a fixed base operator. So they have people that are out there directing the planes as they come in and land. There's people who take care of the customers. There's a lot of customer service that goes into the fixed base operations.
Right.
They also do refueling. They have to tow the planes around. You're talking about multi-million-dollar planes being tugged around to the airport. You've got to have some good skill sets and training for that. And almost everybody, and this isn't just aviation. It's interesting. Most of the businesses in Martin County have 20 or less employees. Many, probably the majority, even have 10 or less. And when you've got a small company like that, at some point, your employees are going to have some interaction with your customers, right? It's just inevitable at a small company like that.
Right.
So customer service and dealing with customers is such an integral part. So that type of training, that customer service, the supervisory training, those types of things that need to be done at a certificate level will be taught here. And a lot of them are transferable to almost any industry.
Well, they certainly are, especially management skills and customer service skills.
Absolutely.
That's something that doesn't matter where you are, you'll
And the other thing is,
encounter.
While it was aviation aerospace that drove us to this facility and getting this up and running, the reality is, when I looked at it and said, you could do 40 hours a week of training during the day. You've got 5 nights a week plus weekends. You're probably talking more closer to 70 hours a week available in this facility. We're not going to do 70 hours of aviation aerospace trainings. It's not an aviation college, right?
Right.
It's not not Embry-Riddle. So we can do other training here too. So one of the things that we found, both in the aviation sector and in others, but largely in the aviation, is English as a second language. We want to upskill our residents and get them into better jobs. And for instance, if you work at Triumph and you're building a Boeing product, Boeing doesn't make their work instructions in anything but English.
Okay.
And they're technical instructions. So it's not just speaking English, it's understanding the technical language of the aircraft construction in English.
Right.
And so English as a second language is something we're going to be offering at the facility.
Interesting. Okay.
As I said, when we talked about the playground, the outdoor education center, there's a lot of analogy back to the marine industry. So we're probably going to do some marine work. There's no reason we can't we're going to have a big lab space with workbenches and such. There's no reason we can't put some outboard engines on racks and have students come in and learn some outboard engine maintenance. Manufacturing training on basic manufacturing skill sets, how to read blueprints, how to use precision measuring instruments, those types of things. We may even do some welding, not real welding. I'd say it's not real welding. It really is real welding, but it's virtual.
Okay. Oh.
So years ago, I worked for an organization. I ran a third-party organization that worked with Lincoln Electric, and they did virtual welding. And literally, you put on that hood, and you hold that welding stick, and it's plastic parts instead of metal, so there's no disposables. But it's all about feel, the touch, the sound, the flow rate, the muscle memory, distance from the part. This technology measures all of those skill sets. And once you get proficient and hit the score levels you need to on each one, you move on to the next level.
Okay.
Then when you get that certificate, you can actually go and spend 6 months on the job actually doing real welding. But it puts you years ahead in the training by going through this virtual welding. So we're looking at things like that as well.
Very exciting. It truly is. Again, we're speaking with Ted Astolfi from the Martin County Economic Council. He's the CEO. You've been with the Economic Council a very long time.
Well, I've been with the Economic Council about 5 years. I had previously been with the Business Development Board.
That's what I was thinking.
That the Economic Council started.
Yes.
And I ran that for about 15 years.
Yes, that's what I was
thinking. That was a
thinking.
lifetime ago. And did the economic development.
Right.
And but now I'm back to the Economic Council, kind of where I started, but because they hired me to run the Business Development Board. But, yeah.
Now that I'm corrected, I was thinking it was the Economic Council you were back with, but it was the BDB.
Yes.
In 5 years, really, it's impressive how this is coming around. I'm just so excited, and we spent most of the hour here on the aviation clinic because it's center because it's exciting, and it's one of those industries that is so important. It's not going anywhere.
It's not, and we have a lot of wealthy people that fly in and out of here on jets, and they want to continue flying in and out of here, which means they need the staff to operate and maintain those aircraft, and so if we can continue to produce those people, we'll continue to have that wealth in our community.
I'll put you on the spot here for a second. Do you know what the economic impact is of the aviation industry in the county?
I had a slide of that, and it was so small and hard to read, I took it out. But there is actually, if you go to the Witham Field website, you'll see it on there.
Okay.
And it's significant. It's in the tens of millions of dollars.
Okay. Yes. I mean, we have so many different industries, and you touched on the marine industry, as you said. I'm very aware of that, and it's exciting too because that's an area where we need more technicians, we need more mechanics.
Absolutely. And so that's why I say we'll fulfill the aviation aerospace sector requirement first, and then the additional hours are going to go into other things like our legacy marine industry as well. So that's another critical capacity for us.
So Ted, tell us what else is going on here in the county. There's so much. I know we could talk for hours. So I definitely wanted to touch on this aviation center, and it's exciting, and I'm sure folks are just going to be so enlightened. And again, when do you project that's going to open? When is
a year from now.
Okay.
If we get the funding for the Reach Center this quarter, the county's going to need to go out to bids and get a contractor, and we'll have to tear down a lot of the building. We're going to maintain it. It's got really good bones. It's a metal structure like a hangar.
Okay.
Right. So it's got that big red steel arch to it.
Yes.
It's all clear span, so it'll be able to be accomplished fairly quickly compared to just a new construction.
Right.
That's
right.
for sure.
Okay.
The playground's a different issue. We've got to wait for the master site plan to be done and updated for the airport. There's an update on that. Once we have that, we can get a survey of the property that we have designated. I've already got the master site plan done. So then we'll just go to the county and get it designated as a parcel with the master site plan adopted on it, and then we can continue to fundraise and help the county along with that process.
Okay. Do you know anything? I'm thinking about the property abutting the airport properties, and that's where the fairgrounds is.
Yes.
Do you know any future
So
plans
we're hoping
for
the
that?
fairgrounds is able to move. The county has allocated property out in Indiantown.
Right.
The fairgrounds has done almost everything they need to do to get out there. Their problem right now is just fundraising.
Money.
They've got to get the money. And so if you're listening, Jay Spicer needs your help.
He does.
He's got great vision. He's got a great plan. He just needs help in the fundraising piece. So
He does. We had Jay in here a couple months ago, and
Good.
that's exactly what he was
'Cause
talking about. Is we just need
we
fundraising.
want a fair,
Right.
right? We've just outgrown that space.
Right.
There's about 9 acres that he's on
Outgrown.
currently.
I don't know how they've done this
I
at that
don't
space
either.
over these
It's
years.
amazing.
Folks, it's not even 12 acres.
It
So-
isn't. It's 9 acres.
This is a fair.
And, we've got, they had originally given them 110 acres in Indiantown. The county is now looking at giving about 25 acres of that to Indian River State College for a new charter high school.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard about
I
that.
did, a technical
Yes,
charter high
technical
school.
trade
Mhm,
school,
mhm.
right. And so we're hoping to take that up and running as well, another educational component.
Yes.
And specifically for out in Indiantown for some of those people that need those skill sets. And so we're excited about that.
Which
So
in general, it's good because the country, I think, or at least our state, we're coming back to saying, technical trade is very important. These skills are very important, and they're
Absolutely.
good paying.
Yeah,
So,
there's nothing wrong with them.
Yes.
They're not to be demeaned.
No, it's
they're
not.
really great career opportunities
they're
for us.
tremendous.
The other thing is that talking about the fairgrounds property, the county had contracted a study, and for post-COVID economic recovery, what do we need to be doing? And one of the key components in that study is the idea of an innovation district. And the idea behind the innovation district, the consultant found that most of the about 90% of all new patents that are developed in Martin County come from individuals and businesses located between Witham Field and Salerno Road.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that district, because of the businesses that are there, both marine and aviation in
Right.
particular, but others, that's where the innovation is happening. So designating that as an innovation district is something the county is now working on. I think they've just hired another group of consultants to take it to the next step on what does that mean, what do we need to do. Obviously, the fairgrounds is a critical piece of that.
Right.
So if and when the fair goes to Indiantown and that
Right.
property becomes available, we can do something else with it to really help cultivate this innovation district with entrepreneurship, new business development board, implementing these new technologies and the new innovations that come out with the patents. So there's really a lot of exciting time.
It's very exciting. I think you speak a lot with parents around here, and they're like, kids have to move away. There's no jobs here for them to keep them here. There's no good paying jobs, So this is really the type of industries that will keep people living here, coming back home.
And I think it's, the whole pipeline idea of getting kids interested is critical, because I don't care if you live in New York City or Pahokee, you want to move somewhere else when you're a kid, right? Everybody wants to leave.
Right.
We want them to stay, and we want them to stay because they see an opportunity to stay, and they have something that really excites them and motivates them. And so if we can get them interested in these career paths that would keep them here, no matter how much you as a parent want them to stay. If they want to leave, they're going to leave.
They're going to, that's right.
But if they can find a good career, find something they like to do, and could stay here, I think that's the way we keep our talent home.
It truly is, and exposure to these various industries is key, as you said, and exposing them young so that they have goals.
Absolutely.
So I saw this, and I want to be a pilot, or I want
Right.
to build engines.
I want to work on planes.
So
yeah.
exactly. So, which, by the way, the Triumph part, that's absolutely astounding to me. I didn't realize that it was built here and has to go all the way to Washington, across the country, by a train, and just right here in Stewart.
And when we're
right
a little
here in Martin
facility in
County.
the whole scheme of things, but our work quality is so high, our on-time performance at Triumph is so good, and our community is so supportive of that business and that sector, along with Paradigm. They're another one. I mean, Paradigm, over on Commerce, they make what's called the combustor of the jet engine. It's where the fuel gets mixed with oxygen and ignites. And it's very high skill. They do laser drilling. They've got huge presses that form the metal. and they're all alloys, so it takes a lot of force. And all these things that people have no idea what's behind those walls.
Right.
And yet we've got the workforce here in this community that supports those industries. It's fascinating.
And I was going to say, those companies have to be very excited that we're going to be creating a pipeline of potential employees for
Absolutely.
them. So
And we're working with them on developing the curriculum.
Right.
So we're being responsive to the industry.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. Brent Wallenberg, towns were built around fishing. When the fishing died, the towns died. That's true. Not anything to do with necessarily with the aviation industry, but that's another whole topic, the fishing and the water quality, and that's something
it's a huge issue. But, you know, years ago we had the net ban. We had these long line nets, and we thought our fishing industry would, and a lot of fishermen did get displaced as a result of that. But we still have commercial fishing in Port Salerno and elsewhere. So we do have a commercial fishing industry here, thankfully. We certainly have a sport fishing industry sector here with the charter boats and so forth. So yeah, you're right. We have to maintain those legacy industry sectors both. To maintain our community, the health of our community, and the health of our environment is critical to that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I know with the fishing right now, it's something you hear about a lot. It used to be plentiful, and now people are going out fishing, and they're lucky to catch a keeper.
Right.
And that's
we're building artificial reefs, which is fantastic. Sinking more vessels. So we're I think as a community we're doing what we can.
We're doing what we can. That's right, and you address it as it comes along. Boy, I mean, we have just 5 minutes left, Ted. This is again Ted Astolfi, with CEO of the Martin County Economic Council, and so many great things here. But what else? I know you've been working on other things, but this one has had to have taken up most of your time.
These are big. You know, that one of the other things that we've been talking about for a while now has been our customer service at the county, right? So I think early on I had mentioned that our economic development competitors like to badmouth us and portray to our customers, potential customers for economic development, that we're still anti-business, we're not helpful, we're not cooperative. And I've got to tell you, that's not the case. It really isn't. So we have to keep getting that message out that we are open for business, we're friendly to business. It's not about population growth, it's about supporting our business and our employees and our employers.
Right.
And so one of those things that we've been looking at is the growth management department. So we always give a priority list to the county commission every 2 to 4 years and ask for them to focus on some areas. One was this customer survey.
Okay. And
several years back, we asked them to conduct surveys of the growth management department customers. People are going through and dealing with government in the permitting process. They've implemented that, but they haven't done anything with them. We don't know what they say. We don't know how to do customer improvement unless we go back and look at those.
Right.
So we've revised our statement from conduct customer surveys to review and analyze your customer surveys and take appropriate action, right? And I have to say that in early December, the county commissioner talked about their priorities for the next year, and this is one that Commissioner Harold Jenkins has been passionate about, and he picked up on it and included it in his list, is to let's go back and look at those customer surveys and see what they say and see if there's opportunities for continuing improvement. So that's a big one for us.
That is a big one. Customer service, again, covers all areas. That's absolutely right. We just got 3 minutes left. The time is flying by.
And the other thing I'll say about that is our permitting time right now, we get people through our permitting process in Martin County faster than any other community around us. Anywhere on the Treasure Coast or Palm Beach, we are the fastest.
That's incredible.
They don't skip any corners.
No.
They're not cutting corners. They have just got the process down and are working to get to yes whenever possible, which is a huge change in our philosophy.
It is a huge change, and certainly a needed one.
I commend the commissioners for it.
Right,
and
right.
Staff.
I mean, I think of something recently, and we won't go into it because we don't even have enough time, but Costco was a really big example. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Brent Wallenberg, he said he recommends a visit to the Bass Pro in Brevard County and compare it to here, he said motel, tourism, restaurants are filling up due to the fishing coming back. So
absolutely.
Kind of.
I'm hoping that happens here.
And Ted, you do that a lot. You go on field trips. You just said
do.
you're up in the Carolinas for
Yes.
this aviation
I do.
playground. So
I do. All around the state and the country, I'm always looking.
looking for ideas, looking
Yes.
at what we can bring home here to Martin County, what we can do to
Absolutely.
improve our county. So, so grateful that you're the CEO and heading up the Economic Council, Ted. And I say that
thank
with
you.
all sincerity that you really have been working hard and doing just a bang-up job. And if anybody question that, look at this aviation project that's coming down the pipe here. That's going to be a benefit to every student in this county.
We certainly hope so.
So, well, it will.
Thank you.
It certainly will. It's a big step, and like you said, the CRAs that you keep an eye on, the one on Map Road in Palm City again. Beautiful. It's just such a transformation there. So, these are the things that the Economic Council does. How do you get members, real quick?
So our members are referred to us by other members.
Okay.
Our members are going out and they're meeting with other executives and business owners in the community all the time, and they will refer people. We go out and meet with them. We talk about our goals and objectives and our mission, and then if it's appropriate, we invite them into
Invite them
member.
in. So if you're a CEO, executive level out
Please
there
reach
that's
out.
interested, you'll certainly know somebody that's a member of the Economic Council. Let's put it that way. So this was wonderful. First show of the year. Ted Astolfi, the Economic Council, Martin County. Wonderful update. Very excited, and we'll follow this project as it unfolds and is built. And next week we're going to have Dr. Millay in from Martin County School District. He's the superintendent of the school district, and always wonderful updates
Amazing
going
guy.
on there. He
He's
really
great.
is.
He's really great.
A lot of energy. He's really tall.
He is.
So, but
Adjust your camera.
Yeah, exactly. He's always a wonderful interview. And other than that, I wish you all a happy New Year again, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 10 a.m.